Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the ATU Sports Corner here on Tech TV. My name is Brandon Moix, joined here by Caden Hauser, and today is the final day of the month of March, which means we are going to be giving you the rundown of everything that has happened major in March Madness. Caden, how much fun have you had watching this tournament?
I can't even put it into words. March, it's the best time of the year for sports. There's no better time than March Madness, and even though we didn't have any super crazy upsets, we had some seeds go far that were lower ranked. We had some great teams. We had some double-digit seeds that a lot of people didn't expect to win games. People said the mid-majors were dead, but I think this year's tournament proved that that's not true.
Yeah, we did have a double-digit seed mid-major win a game. The lowest seed to win an NCAA tournament game. Maybe not the most unexpected upset, but High Point, the 12 seed. The Panthers had an absolutely thrilling win against Wisconsin in the first round. This game was absolutely nuts. Chase Johnston, man, I mean, just pulling up from anywhere on the floor. He was absolutely ridiculous in this one, just big shot after big shot down the stretch. And then, of course, at the very end, his first two-point field goal made of the entire season, down late. I mean, what? It's March Madness.
It's March. I mean, you never expect that. He was out on the break. They asked him about it after the game. He was just like, I just had to get my team a bucket. It wasn't even going through his head that it was a two-pointer. And, you know, his coach told him that he tried to, the year before, he tried to make him someone that could get to the rack. And he's just like, I wasn't comfortable that way. So Chase Johnston, one of the most notorious players now for that stat, his 3-point to 2-point ratio, gets his first one of the season for a game winner. It doesn't get better than that in March. And Rob Martin, the leader of this High Point team, who doesn't get as much credit because of people like Chase Johnston, he had 53 points in 2 games. Against them, he had 30. And against Arkansas, he had 23 against Wisconsin, 30 against Arkansas. Played great. He's one of the fastest players I've ever watched. He can get to the rack at will. And I know he's a senior. I don't know if he has any eligibility left, but if he doesn't, the 5'10 senior, he was phenomenal. I don't know if he'll be someone competent or someone really good to play in the NBA, but he was really fun to watch.
Yeah, Rob Martin, honestly, like watching him in that Arkansas game was one of my favorite one-man performances I've ever seen in an NCAA tournament. Just the quickness, the speed to get by the Arkansas defenders is absolutely incredible. I also want to give a little shout out to Cameron Fletcher. Really didn't shoot the ball very well all year. I know he's a very talented player. I liked his game for a few years now. But, man, he was shooting the cover off the ball in the NCAA tournament, played very well in both of their games, and I think High Point really just delivered exciting games in this NCAA tournament, which even though they might not have gone as deep as they possibly could have, not a crazy Cinderella run, still an absolute blast to watch. But a team that did go very deep was the Iowa Hawkeyes. Bennett Sturts and those guys had an absolutely wild one against the Florida Gators where they pulled off the biggest upset in the entire tournament, in my opinion. Bennett Sturts really just took over late. And this play here, man, this Florida defense, I mean, what are we doing? Just absolutely lost trying to follow Ben Sturts for some reason instead of trying to front him and stop the ball. And then this last trip, they can't even get a shot off. Really just inexcusable stuff down the stretch from the Gators.
I personally don't understand why we have I agree with some on-ball pressure, but not that much. Why do we have 4 guys on that side of half court? Thomas Hauff, he's forced to step up because Bennett Sturts is quick. He gets past the initial pressure. He can shoot the pull-up 3 at will, and he's liable to knock it down. And you leave Fulgaris, who's not just a great shooter, so you're kind of living with it. Knocks down the biggest shot of his career by far. I really don't understand the defensive motive.
Yeah, well, it's one thing to leave a guy like Fulgaris open. It's another thing to just leave him completely. I mean, he could have spun the ball, checked the wind in the arena.
No one within 10 feet.
Still got it off without a contest. It was absolutely ridiculous, and I don't understand how no one stops ball. Why are we trailing Bennett Sturts in that situation? We know he's the guy you want to go to. He's going to try to get downhill. And I believe that they even said in the post-game presser that, the play was for Sturts to get to the basket.
Yeah.
And if they didn't help so hard off Fulgaris, that's exactly what would have happened. So there was really just no way that was going to work for the Florida Gators. But Iowa played in some wild ones in the NCAA tournament. They also had a play that has become infamous against Nebraska down the stretch where the Cornhuskers had 4 guys on the floor.
It's just it's really poor basketball, and you really don't expect to see that from a former NBA coach, a guy that is very respected around the league and in college basketball now in Hoiberg. His son plays on the team. I feel like they said that every time he was on the screen. I was talking to my dad about that in every game. It's like, oh, here's Fred Hoiberg's son, Sam Hoiberg. He's playing for Nebraska. Like every play, it just felt like that was what he was known as. Great player, but it's just a shame. Anyway, 4 players on the court. I don't understand how it happens. I just don't. And shout out to Iowa for capitalizing on it, but it just makes no sense on how something like that happens in the biggest moment of your team's or your school's history in basketball in your first NCAA tournament. You put 4 players on the court in your first ever Sweet 16 appearance.
Yeah, I mean, this is their first Sweet 16 appearance, the first time they had ever won an NCAA tournament game. But I do want to give a shout-out Fred Hoiberg. Despite that massive blunder, has done an incredible job with this team this year. I think he's really gained himself a lot of respect in the coaching ranks. Nebraska played an absolute thriller that they did not choke against Vanderbilt. Many people tell you that was the best game of the tournament so far. Just shot the lights out in that one, 47% from downtown. Tyler Tanner couldn't quite get enough done all by himself. Just barely missed.
That shot. Man, I could have promised I was going in. You've seen the picture, I'm sure, of like the ball. It's more than halfway down the net. I mean, it's in the rim. Tyler Tanner, he was heartbroken after that. I mean, it was in the basket. It was
Lil Gordon Hayward-esque.
I know. It's just, and I love this Vanderbilt team too. I talked highly about them on the show. I took them to the Elite Eight of the Final Four.
Real highly.
And it truly could have happened if that shot goes down, or they just play a little bit of a better game. Because at the end of the day, they should have and could have beat Nebraska if they played at their best ability. And then they would have had Iowa. They would have skipped past having to play Florida again, the SEC championship or the SEC semifinal rematch. They would have had to skip that, and they would have seen Iowa. And that's very doable, even though Iowa was on their hot streak. So my Vanderbilt pick at the end of the day, I understand they lost in the round of 32. Really wasn't that bad.
Wasn't great.
It could have happened. It was there.
Yeah.
It was there. And it just, unfortunately, the cards did not play in their favor. And I think Tyler Tanner should have made that shot. I think the ball was a little more inflated than it should have been.
The basketball inflation discourse has just been one of the most exhausting things for me over the last couple of NCAA tournaments. I don't know how this is possibly a problem that could arise, but it seems like it has been. But speaking of problems that absolutely should not have arose, oh my goodness, Duke, what are you doing down the stretch in this UConn game? Just an all-time terrible blunder. They were in position to win. First of all, they had a big lead in this game.
Yes,
they were absolutely in position to win. And then they get the ball up to late and just disaster.
Yeah, so I was at work during this game, and I wasn't on my phone for the whole time. And then, so at halftime, my dad texted me and said, another blowout, because Duke was up like 16 or something like that. I checked my phone after the game. UConn had won by 1. So I was like, so did UConn blow them out and Duke came back? And I checked the box score. Braylon Mullins hit a 35-footer to win the game after a huge comeback.
Yeah, this was an absolutely ridiculous play. I mean, everything's fine. They break the press a little bit. They get it up to Boozer, and he sees Gongba and Evans ahead and throws it away. And then Mullins obviously hits that absolutely incredible shot. Gets the puppies organized and just puts it down from beyond the logo. An absolutely incredible shot by him. But I don't understand what Boozer's doing. There's 2 things you can do in that situation. You can hold the ball, or you can try to find a passing lane to those 2 guys open ahead. You can't just try to throw it over 2 guys, especially as a smaller guard. And UConn made them pay for it. Maybe that's I don't want to say it's a coaching thing, because I think Shire is one of the best coaches in the country. But I don't know.
You're going up, like you said, smaller guard. You know they're going to be jumping. You know they're going up with you. You could even go low with try a bounce pass or try to split them or something, and you go high, and you know you're a smaller guard. I understand he's a freshman. Caden Boozer, he had a great game before that too. You said that earlier. He was playing good in this tournament overall before this moment. Him and his brother, they played great. I don't know if you saw Cam Boozer after the game with a black eye. That shows how much they were pouring out in this game, how hard they were trying. And now Caden Boozer's getting a lot of slack, which is well-deserved because of that pass, but I don't think that should dampen how good this Duke team was all year. To have basically a brand new squad. They dealt with injuries throughout this tournament, And the last thing was the Isaiah Evans closeout, and I want to hear what you think about that because I think we have similar opinions.
I think it's been overblown. It's a very difficult position he was in. Obviously, he was all the way on the other end of the floor and was just sprinting back to get into the play. It's very difficult to get a hand up in that sort of a situation. I know there's like the thing with like his Instagram handle.
Get a hand up.
Yeah, that's not a good look that he didn't get a hand up, but like, I don't know. I've played a lot of basketball in my life, and knowing sprint back, turn around, see the guy squaring up and get a hand up, that is an incredibly difficult thing to do.
Well, one, I don't think he wasn't expecting Caden Boozer to make that errant pass. One, he was never planning for that. Two, he wasn't really expecting Braylon Mullins to pull it from that deep because they still had a little more time to get a better shot. He wasn't expecting him to just no dribble, just pull up right into a jumper. And number three, with how much guys can get fouls now with landing space or even just the light contact of an arm, I don't think he was one of trying to foul a three-point shooter in this situation because I honestly think there was a better chance of him on that closeout of somehow getting a foul than Braylon Mullins just draining that shot. So it's really unfortunate. Isaiah Evans is getting a lot of slack, but personally, I don't think it's deserved.
Yeah, that was absolutely the wildest ending of the NCAA tournament so far. But we still have 3 more games to go, and we will talk about that when we come back for break.
Everyone tells you to think about the future, but we know there's growth in the journey. At ATU, we value this moment because here, nature becomes your classroom. So breathe it in. You've got this. Right here, right where you are. Focus on the now, because our focus is on your success.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. The Final Four is just around the corner. We now know who the last 4 teams are. The first game of the Final Four, UConn and Illinois. What do you think is going to happen in this one, Caden?
I think both these games are going to be phenomenal, and Illinois might not be regarded as one of the best 4 teams in the nation of the year, but I think they've played great. I think they have a phenomenal roster. People like Andrei Stojakovic, he's became one of my favorite players in the tournament. He has stepped up huge. Keaton Wagler, when he gets past small shooting slumps, he gets to where he starts 2 for 7, 1 for 8, gets past that, phenomenal player, one of the top freshmen. He's earned that throughout the year, kind of came out of nowhere. And they have some great foreign guys that play basketball at a high level. I love the Ivisic brothers. I think they play great. And the whole roster overall, it's very well-rounded, and I think this Illinois team is dangerous. I took them very far in my bracket, but UConn, they have probably the best coach remaining in the tournament, in my opinion, in Danny Hurley. I love the fire he has, the emotion, the aggression from Danny Hurley. It's great. And this UConn team, they're really good. They've proved that. I think they can pick up the win, but for my heartstrings, for my bracket, I'm going to roll with the Fighting Illini.
You know, this is a tough one, like you said. I have really struggled with deciding who I'm going to take in this one. Taurus Reed for UConn has been absolutely outstanding. And Alex Caravan's been a little up and down. Solo ball has not been himself. Yeah. I think that's been clear the whole tournament. But I think it's very impressive that they have gotten to this point with Solo ball, obviously not playing his best basketball. Guy who has been playing his best basketball, Malachi Smith. He's playing at a super high level, started a game, came off the bench, and I think that's going to be the key in this one is the other guys for really both of these teams. But I think that the other guys for UConn have been playing at a super high level for them lately, and I think if they can get production out of Solo ball, I think that UConn has a real chance to be dangerous in this Final Four, and I think they can get the job done in this one.
I think honestly there's going to be a big battle, not necessarily battle, but a show-off between Kylan Boswell and Solo ball. They're both guys that could be good and should be good, but they really haven't had a great tournament. And I think that's going to play a big factor into who wins this game is out of that guard battle, who does better. And like you said, the bench, Illinois has a strong 8-man rotation. UConn, they have some depth as well. And that's what some teams in the tournament struggled with, not to throw shame or shade at these Arkansas fans. That's what they didn't have is that depth. Both these teams, they have that. All these teams in the Final Four, matter of fact, have that. And I like the Illini, but I like UConn a lot too, and I think this could be a classic.
I think so. I think it's going to be a fun one, but just solo ball. And these struggles are not unique to the NCAA tournament. He was not great towards the end of the Big East tournament either.
The UConn stat that you told me before the show about UConn before the Sweet or after the Sweet 16, what was the exact number?
18 wins in a row after the Sweet 16. They have lost NCAA tournament games, to be clear, but they were all in the first 2 rounds. So
since 2009.
I think it'll be 19.
That's an insane. Just like when you really think, that's insane.
Just one of those weird little stats that always like popped your eyes, and then you have to think about it for a little bit to make it even make sense. But a game that's going to pop my eyes, Michigan versus Arizona. I said before the tournament started that if these two teams faced off, they are the 2 best teams in the NCAA tournament, and the winner of that game will go on to win it all. I took Michigan to win it all before the tournament started. I think I'm going to stick with that pick here. I really like the way their big men played. I think it's kind of a stylistic way that is sort of an omen of the way that college basketball is changing. Florida won the national championship last year, being a big man-oriented team with their triple bigs, and I think Michigan is much in the same mold. I think Arizona also is actually a very interior-oriented team, but I think Michigan is stronger in that aspect. And although Arizona does have the better guards, I think the fact that both of these teams like to play inside out will play to Michigan's favor, and they're going to get the job done.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough for Arizona, and I think that because in the Arkansas game, they only took 8 3-pointers. This is a team, they score over half their points within the paint. They are paint dominant. Kola Pete especially, he gets to the rack. Jaden Bradley, he can tear up the mid-range. There's a lot of guys on that team that they just get to the rim at will, and that's going to be really hard against 7'4" Ade Mara. He's one of the best rim protectors, if not the best in college basketball. The other one's probably on the other side of the floor, and Zvonimir Visic. But going against Mara, that's going to be really tough for this team. And like you said, their guards are great. Jaden Burry, he's been amazing. I mean, absolutely amazing. And Jaden Bradley's been amazing. They've all been Braden Burry's. Sorry. I get him and Jaden Bradley, first name, whatever. Anyway, they've been great backcourt. Del Orso, he tends to have big games every once in a while. He's one of their better 3-point shooters. He's going to have to be on if they win this game. The 3-pointer is going to be big for them. If they're going to win this game, Arizona is going to have to knock down shots from the perimeter. Their bigs are going to have to play well, defend the paint. Lindeborg's going to be trying to get to the basket. I really like Arizona. Michigan comes in at 1.5-point favorites right now, but with how Arizona's been playing, I really want to stick with Lloyd and his Wildcats.
Okay, that's interesting. I do think that these Arizona players are capable of knocking down threes. We just really haven't seen it to a high degree so far, and, you know, I don't really expect this to be the one time where it does pop. As much as I think they're capable of it, I think that's just not the smartest bet to make. But for the championship game, I have Michigan versus UConn, and I am going to roll with Michigan. Like I said, I think they're just the best team. I think that really in this game, if that ends up being the game, Michigan will not only be the bigger team but the more athletic team. And I think that combination will be too much for the the Huskies to handle. I did take the Huskies to win. Now I'm trying to play both sides here, I guess. But I do think that will be the case. I think Michigan's just too much.
I like how we took the two opposite here. I like how I took the Illini and Arizona, and you took UConn and Michigan. But if it does fall into the hands of the Illini versus the Wildcats, I think Arizona will win, even though, yet again, Illinois, they have the big man in both Ivisiches. They can protect the rim amazing. Arizona just looks so complete all year. I love Tommy Lloyd. I think he's one of the best coaches in college basketball, and I think that's going to play a big factor, just like it would for Danny Hurley if UConn pans out to this level. But I really want to see Illinois succeed. Took them far in my bracket. It's actually what won me my bracket pool is Illinois making it this far. And Arizona's looked really good. I've been high on them all year, especially since they started so hot in the Big 12. And I think they can pull it out, but they're going to need shooters like Del Orso. They're going to need Jaden Bradley. They're going to need Braden Burries. They're going to need all those guys to show up to first take down the Wolverines and then take down the Illini or the Huskies.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun Final Four. I honestly believe both of these two Final Four games are going to be absolutely electric, I believe. But that is all we're going to have time for today. You can catch us next week, but for now, we'll see you next time.